Shocking news, your name has been removed at the last moment. Your heart sinks before your mind even catches up to the words, your name has been removed. Something in the air shifts. The moment you hear it, it feels as though time slows, the walls close in just slightly, and your breath catches somewhere between disbelief and quiet heartbreak. You blink, trying to process it, replaying every conversation, every promise, every expectation that led to this point. All that preparation, the long hours, the hope you quietly nurtured, you thought this was finally the moment heaven was aligning for you. You could almost feel it in your spirit. It was supposed to be yours. But then, like a rug pulled from under your feet, it vanished. You were removed. At the last moment. Without warning. Without explanation. I know that feeling, the heaviness that sits in your chest, the way disappointment wraps around your ribs like cold metal. It doesn't just hurt. It confuses you. You start to question the meaning of it all. You wonder what went wrong, who decided this, and why they thought you didn't deserve it. You replay every step, trying to find the exact moment when something shifted. But listen to me, because behind this sudden storm, there is an unseen movement taking place. What happened is not punishment. It is revelation. What looks like rejection is actually protection dressed in disguise. This removal was not random. It wasn't done because you lacked skill, grace, or worthiness. It wasn't because heaven changed its mind about you. No, it was resistance. A kind of resistance that has nothing to do with your ability and everything to do with how your rising light unsettles small hearts. You are starting to touch a level that others only imagined reaching, and that scares them. You're becoming a mirror, not of their successes, but of their unhealed wounds, their lost faith, their abandoned dreams. You represent the version of themselves they wished they had become, but didn't. And that, my dear, can provoke quiet hostility dressed as politeness. Some of these people smile when they see you, yet in the corners of their hearts, envy hums like a quiet storm. They clap when you succeed, but not too loudly. They ask about your journey, but never too eagerly. They speak support, but carry subtle doubt, hoping life proves them right about you. When good news hovers over your life, when heaven starts marking your name for elevation, discomfort wakes up in those around you. Instead of celebrating your breakthrough, they question your timing. Instead of stepping aside to honor your turn, they start sowing confusion, creating delays, or whispering behind curtains they think you cannot see through. What happened to your name isn't merely coincidence, it's interference born from insecurity. They could not handle the idea that you, the one they thought they had figured out, the one who once walked quietly through seasons of silence, would be chosen. They measured you by your waiting seasons, by your struggles, not realizing that those were the very moments heaven used to refine and strengthen you. They grew comfortable with your quiet. They felt safe while you were still climbing, unsure, invisible. They decided in their minds who you were supposed to remain, and your becoming now disturbs that fragile illusion. As your light began to rise, it illuminated shadows that had grown used to being unseen. And not all shadows wish to face the dawn. But here is a truth so powerful it shifts everything: no human being can delete what heaven has already written. Your absence from one list does not mean your name is missing from divine records. Paper can be edited, destiny cannot. The hands that try to erase you only expose themselves before heaven's timing. They thought they were taking something from you, but in truth, they handed you a key, the key of discernment. You now see the difference between applause and alignment, between presence and loyalty, between support and proximity. It hurts, yes, but this clarity is worth more than the opportunity you lost. You might be asking yourself, why me? Why now? Because heaven needs you to see before you rise. It must show you the weight of loyalty before it hands you greater influence. You needed to know who prays for you and who prays on you, who crowns you in private and who competes in silence. You see, sometimes heaven allows interference not to stop your blessing, but to strengthen your vision. You are being trained to recognize energy, to discern spirits, to see beyond smiles. This was not a removal, it was an unveiling. Those who wanted to see your downfall are not your enemies, they are lessons embodied in human form. Their discomfort is not power, it is exposure. Your growth reflects their stagnation, and rather than rising with you, they try to pull you down into familiar territory, into doubt, into fear. But don't go there. The temptation will be strong. You'll feel the urge to justify yourself, to confront them, to set records straight. Don't. That is not your assignment. The dignity of silence will speak louder than any defense. Those who truly carry divine backing learn early, silence is not defeat, it is strategy. Heaven is deliberate. Every delay has purpose woven inside it. You think you missed something, but what if that missing piece was heaven's way of redirecting you to the exact space where your name won't just appear, it will resonate? What if heaven postponed visibility so it could prepare longevity? You don't need a temporary spotlight, you need a platform that cannot be pulled out from under you when envy rises again. That takes time. That takes divine rearranging. Let those who removed your name believe they succeeded. They don't know heaven rewrites stories in the unseen. Take a breath and remember your journey. Think of all the times you thought it was over before. The moments that felt heavy beyond words. The nights you prayed quietly just to hold it together. Each of those seasons prepared you for this one. Heaven has watched you endure in silence, carry weight without recognition, build without validation. It's because of that endurance that you're now marked for elevation, and precisely why interference happens. The opposition doesn't appear when you're insignificant, it arises when you start walking near open doors. What is meant for you has already begun its movements behind the veil. Human resistance only delays, it never denies. And yes, you may see delays. Sometimes heaven lets interruptions linger so that the final delivery comes with a bigger testimony. If they delayed your name on one list, it means heaven is preparing a platform that doesn't even require a list. When people close one door, heaven designs an entire corridor. When they try to block your microphone, heaven amplifies your voice in unexpected ways. You will not need to chase what is yours. What is written for you carries its own GPS in the spirit. It knows your address, it cannot be lost. Do not waste your divine energy fighting shadows. You were never designed to wrestle with what cannot stand in the light. Shadows thrive only in the absence of illumination. The moment truth enters the room, they dissolve without effort, without battle, without even the need for resistance. Your true assignment has always been alignment, quiet, steady, unwavering alignment with the deeper current that moves through all things. When the noise rises, when accusations fly like arrows in the dark, when misunderstanding thickens the atmosphere around you, remember this: your job is not to chase every distortion, not to defend every corner of your reputation, not to prove your worth to eyes that refuse to see clearly. Your sacred responsibility is to remain faithful to the assignment heaven placed within you long before the current storm arrived. Stay faithful even when the path feels lonely. Faithfulness in this context is not loud proclamation or dramatic displays of devotion. It is the small, almost invisible choices made hour after hour, choosing kindness when cruelty would feel justified, choosing silence when words would only add fuel to confusion, choosing to keep your gaze forward when everything invites you to look backward in regret. Every act of integrity, no matter how private, deposits strength into invisible accounts. Every moment you choose perseverance instead of escape, you are building momentum that cannot be measured by likes, shares, or public opinion. Every quiet decision to stay grounded, rooted in truth rather than reaction, creates a force field of protection that no external attack can penetrate. Heaven values consistency far more than reaction. The world rewards reactivity. It celebrates the quick comeback, the viral clapback, the perfectly timed retort that leaves opponents speechless. But the realm of spirit operates by different mathematics. Here, the slow, steady rhythm of a heart that refuses to be pulled off course carries infinitely more weight. Your silence is not weakness, it is discipline. Your stillness is not defeat, it is mastery. Your refusal to retaliate is not passivity, it is the sharpest weapon available to those who walk in light. Swords wound flesh and leave scars that eventually heal. But a life lived in unbroken integrity cuts through deception at its root, exposing what was hidden without ever raising a hand in violence. Soon, perhaps sooner than your weary heart can presently imagine, the truth will surface. It always does. Truth has its own timetable, independent of human impatience or manipulation. It moves like water, patient, persistent, eventually finding every crack, every hidden chamber, every concealed motive. The same voices that once whispered against you in corners, the same fingers that pointed in accusation, the same circles that closed ranks to exclude you, these will one day be compelled to speak differently. Not necessarily from a place of genuine remorse or sudden enlightenment, but from sheer necessity. Life itself will unfold in patterns so undeniable, so publicly evident, that acknowledgement becomes unavoidable. When heaven moves on your behalf, the evidence becomes overwhelming. The story writes itself in ways no one can edit or spin. And by that time, something beautiful will have already happened inside you, your heart will have been set free. You will have outgrown the need for their validation. Their belated praise, their reluctant admission, their public pivot, they will land softly, almost insignificantly, against the deep reservoir of peace you carry. You will look at the same faces that once caused pain and feel only a gentle detachment, the way one regards old photographs of a chapter long closed. The approval you once craved will appear small, almost comical, next to the quiet certainty that has grown within you through the fire of waiting. I know this present moment stings deeply. The injustice feels raw, personal, almost surgical in its precision. It is natural to question why, to wonder how people who once claimed to know your heart could so easily turn, could rewrite your story with such casual cruelty. The sense of unfairness can be suffocating, especially when you have given generously, loved sincerely, and served humbly. Yet even in this sharp ache, trust this foundational promise: injustice never escapes the notice of spiritual law. Heaven's justice does not operate with the noise and spectacle of human courts. It moves quietly, completely, and without partiality. Nothing done against you in darkness slips past the divine eye. Every hidden word, every secret plot, every moment of exclusion, none of it is overlooked. When people plot delays to hinder your progress, Heaven quietly composes lessons that will strengthen you for decades to come. When they attempt to exclude you from tables you once helped set, Heaven begins expanding your territory in directions they could never imagine. When they try to shame you into silence, Heaven initiates a restoration so thorough, so multiplied, that the original loss appears insignificant in retrospect. This is the divine economy. Returns are never one-to-one, they are always multiplied, compounded, overflowing. What was meant to diminish you becomes the very fertilizer for greater increase. What was intended to bury you actually breaks open the soil for new growth. So keep your head high, even when the atmosphere feels heavy with unspoken tension. You are not falling behind. You are being repositioned with surgical care. Heaven is gently removing you from arenas where your presence would perpetually be questioned, doubted, debated, or diminished. Those spaces were never designed to hold the fullness of who you are becoming. They were training grounds, not final destinations. Now you are being guided toward environments where your value will be honored naturally, where your gifts will be received without suspicion, where your contribution will be met with gratitude rather than resistance. The tables are being reset, not in the same room, but in a new hall altogether, one with higher ceilings, wider windows, and air that feels lighter to breathe. Your current seating has not been lost. It is being prepared in a place more suited to your next season. When Heaven relocates you, the movement is never backward. It only appears that way to those who still measure progress by public applause, trending hashtags, or visible position. In the divine economy, forward motion is measured by alignment, maturity, and inner expansion, metrics invisible to the natural eye but eternally significant. Right now, in these hidden months, Heaven is doing several things at once. Protecting your name from further contamination, refining the circle of people who truly belong in your future, and quietly preparing the stage for what comes next. These periods of apparent withdrawal are never punishment, they are preservation. You are being guarded from environments that lack the spiritual capacity to sustain your next level of calling. The pain of feeling removed is real, but it is the ache of transition, not the wound of abandonment. Soon the perspective will shift, and you will recognize this season of separation as divine relocation disguised as rejection. When your new chapter finally unfolds, and it will unfold in ways that leave no room for doubt, you will see clearly why this pruning was necessary. The opportunities destined for you will arrive without the need for pleading or performance. Doors will open because your alignment commands them, not because you force the lock. Recognition will not be something you chase across crowded rooms, it will locate you naturally, drawn by the authentic energy you now radiate without effort. Heaven is never in a hurry, yet it is never late. Its timing is calibrated to the precise millisecond when your heart is ready to receive without pride, when your motives have been purified through waiting, when your faith has matured into quiet, unshakable trust. So breathe deeply. Let the breath remind you that life is still moving through you. Rest in divine timing the way a seed rests in dark soil, trusting the unseen process that turns pressure into breakthrough. Do not allow bitterness to take root, it is a slow poison that contaminates everything heaven is still carefully nurturing within you. Forgive without needing to announce it. Release without keeping score. Each deliberate act of surrender creates space, wide, clean, sacred space, for something far larger to land in your life. You are not in decline. You are in sacred transition. The next chapter will require lighter hands, a cleaner heart, and a spirit that has learned to hold loosely what was never yours to grip forever. Understand this truth at the deepest level, not just as a comforting idea but as a reality that reshapes how you see your past, your present, and what is unfolding ahead of you. What was taken from you was always too small for who you are becoming. It could not stay, because it could not grow with you. It could not stretch to hold the expansion that has already begun within your spirit. That is precisely why it slipped away so easily, sometimes without warning, sometimes in ways that felt unfair, confusing, or unbearably abrupt. Heaven refuses to let you settle for rooms that force you to shrink, for relationships that require you to apologize for your depth, your sensitivity, your integrity, or your light. Heaven will not allow you to remain assigned to spaces that once fit but now constrain your becoming. When your growth begins to outsize your current environment, removal is not punishment. It is protection. It is precision. It is love expressed through disruption. The exit often feels harsh because it is not designed to be comfortable, it is designed to be effective. If it were gentle, you might linger. If it were slow, you might negotiate with your own knowing. So heaven acts decisively, not to wound you, but to move you. The pain you felt was not evidence that something went wrong. It was evidence that something powerful was happening. What could no longer accompany you had to fall away, even if part of you was still attached to the familiarity of it, even if you had invested years, dreams, or your own identity into making it work. There are moments when loss feels like erasure, when it seems as though something essential has been stripped from you. But what was removed was never the source of your value. It was only a container, and it had reached its limit. You are not diminished by what left. You are revealed by it. The very fact that it could not stay is proof that you are expanding beyond old definitions, beyond borrowed roles, beyond expectations that were never aligned with the fullness of who you are. Heaven is not interested in maintaining appearances. Heaven is committed to your becoming. Your name remains known in the halls that truly matter. Not the rooms where opinions shift like sand, not the spaces governed by envy, misunderstanding, or shallow judgment, but the unseen courts where truth is recorded without distortion. There are ledgers kept beyond human reach, where faithfulness is noted, where tears are counted, where the quiet decisions no one applauded are honored in full. No edit, no smear, no revisionist history can alter what heaven has written about you. No human hand can erase the record of your sincerity, your endurance, your compassion, your obedience to what was right even when it cost you. So walk forward, not with clenched fists or burning anger, not with the need to prove or defend yourself endlessly, but with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing the story is still being written, and the author has never lost control of the narrative. You do not need to rush to correct every misunderstanding. You do not need to force recognition from those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Time, guided by truth, has a way of revealing what arguments never could. What is real will endure. What is false will collapse under its own weight. Let your peace become your most powerful protest. In a world that expects you to respond with bitterness, choose clarity. In environments that thrive on reaction, choose restraint. Not because you are weak, but because you are anchored. Let your refusal to become hardened serve as living evidence that transformation is taking place within you. There is a strength in softness that only the healed can carry. There is authority in calm that cannot be faked. When you remain whole in the face of loss, when you remain kind without becoming naive, when you remain open without abandoning discernment, you embody a testimony that no accusation can dismantle. Let your continued trust stand as proof that something greater is at work, even when the evidence is not yet visible. Trust does not mean you do not feel disappointment. It does not mean you do not question or grieve. It means you refuse to let the temporary distort the eternal. It means you place more weight on what is being prepared than on what has been removed. What is meant for you is still unfolding, quietly, powerfully, deliberately. It gathers momentum in realms you cannot yet see, in timing you cannot yet measure, through connections you have not yet encountered. And when it finally arrives, it will come clothed in a clarity that silences doubt. It will fit without forcing. It will align without strain. It will feel like recognition rather than conquest. In the meantime, be gentle with yourself. This is not a small instruction. It is a sacred one. The heart that has been wounded by misunderstanding, dismissal, or betrayal deserves your own compassion first. Do not speak to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you love. Do not rush your healing because others are uncomfortable with your process. There is no prize for pretending you are unaffected. There is only wholeness, and wholeness takes honesty. Speak kindly to the part of you that still feels the sting. That part is not weak, it is alive. It cared. It hoped. It invested. Allow the tears when they come. They are not signs of regression. They are not evidence that you lack faith. They are a release, a cleansing, a sign that life is still flowing through you. Grief and trust are not opposites. You are allowed to grieve what was lost while simultaneously trusting what is being prepared. These two postures can coexist. In fact, they often must. This is the sacred tension of authentic faith, not denial of pain, but devotion in the midst of it. There will be days when your strength feels effortless and days when it feels borrowed. There will be moments when you sense peace settling deeply within you and moments when old memories resurface unexpectedly. This does not mean you are moving backward. Healing is not linear. It is rhythmic. It comes in waves, each one carrying you a little further from the shore of who you were and closer to the horizon of who you are becoming. Be patient with this process. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where the depth is being formed. Keep choosing the higher road, even when no one is watching. Integrity is not proven by applause, it is proven in solitude. Keep planting seeds of honesty, kindness, and courage in the ordinary soil of your days. You may not see immediate results, but seeds do not announce their growth. They work quietly, beneath the surface, until the conditions are right for emergence. Nothing you do in alignment with truth is wasted. Keep returning to the simple practices that anchor you. Prayer that is more listening than speaking, where you allow yourself to be held rather than striving to impress. Gratitude that is more honest than performative, where you acknowledge both the blessing and the ache without spiritualizing your pain away. Rest that is received as obedience rather than laziness, trusting that you do not need to exhaust yourself to be worthy of what is coming. Each of these small acts is a vote for the future you cannot yet see but can already feel stirring within you. The divine is not indifferent to your pain. Heaven is not absent in your waiting. Silence does not mean neglect. Often, it means something is being constructed with such care that interruption would compromise its integrity. What feels like delay is actually depth being developed. What feels like rejection is redirection toward greater capacity. What feels like loss is liberation from limitations you had learned to tolerate. You are not being overlooked. You are being prepared. There are dimensions of you that could not emerge in the environment you were in. There are strengths that only solitude could awaken. There is discernment that only disappointment could sharpen. There is compassion that only suffering could deepen. None of this was accidental. None of this was wasted. Even the confusion served a purpose. It loosened your dependence on certainty and strengthened your trust in guidance. It taught you how to move without having every answer. It taught you how to listen inwardly when external voices grew loud and contradictory. You are more valuable than the circumstances that currently surround you would suggest. Do not measure your worth by temporary conditions. You are more necessary than the silence that sometimes greets your efforts would imply. Quiet seasons do not mean you are irrelevant, they often mean you are being repositioned. You are more seen than the shadows would have you believe. Even when no one acknowledges your labor, your growth, your restraint, it is seen where it matters most. And you are more loved, eternally, unconditionally, fiercely loved, than any human approval could ever approximate. There is a love that does not fluctuate based on performance. There is a regard that does not waver when you stumble. There is a commitment to your becoming that is not threatened by your questions or your weariness. That love is holding you now, even when you cannot feel it. That love is guiding circumstances, timing, and encounters in ways you will one day recognize with awe. So stand, not in defiance, but in dignity. Breathe, not shallow breaths of survival, but deep breaths of trust. Let your body learn what your spirit already knows, that you are safe in the unfolding. Trust, even when trust feels like an act of courage rather than certainty. Wait with purpose, not passivity. Waiting is not stagnation when your heart remains aligned. Walk with dignity, refusing to reduce yourself to what tried to break you. Know this, deep in the marrow of your being. The best part of your story is not behind you. It is not locked in a past version of yourself or dependent on something that already ended. It is still approaching, quietly, powerfully, inevitably. And when it arrives, it will carry the unmistakable signature of heaven. You will recognize it not by chaos or anxiety, but by peace. Not by striving, but by alignment. Not by fear of loss, but by the sense that nothing essential is at risk. It will arrive in perfect timing, not a moment too soon, not a moment too late. It will bring complete restoration, not necessarily by returning what was lost, but by giving you what truly fits. It will bring multiplied blessing, not only in external ways, but in internal capacity, the ability to receive without fear, to enjoy without guilt, to love without losing yourself. It will bring a peace that surpasses every question you ever carried, a peace that does not require constant reassurance to remain intact. Until then, hold on. Not with desperation, but with steadiness. You are exactly where you need to be for what is coming next. This in-between space is not a mistake, it is a threshold. The light is already moving toward you, even if it has not yet broken fully into view. Soon, very soon, you will see it clearly. You will understand why certain doors closed, why certain connections dissolved, why certain dreams had to be reshaped rather than fulfilled as you once imagined. Until that clarity arrives, let your quiet faithfulness be the bridge between what was and what will be. Let your consistency carry you when motivation wanes. Let your values anchor you when emotions fluctuate. Let your willingness to stay open become the soil in which the next chapter takes root. You do not need to force the future. You only need to remain aligned with truth in the present. It is enough. You are enough. Not because you have it all figured out, not because you never falter, but because you are held by something greater than your current understanding. Heaven is faithful. Always. And that faithfulness has not brought you this far to abandon you now.